The one time we could have talked about David and no one would have been offended. Welcome to another episode of The Guido Goes Off. Once again, thank you for watching. It happened. We all know it happened, and there's really nothing else we can do about it. I've been following people's tweets, blogs, vlogs, podcasts, and pretty much every bit of information I can get my hands on as far as the situation with WWE using Reid Flair to enhance the storyline between Charlotte and Paige. It happened. What's done's done, nothing we can do to change it. I mean, I believe in showing all respect for the dead. And while you can see what they were trying to do, but it clearly backfired. They were trying to gain sympathy for Charlotte against Paige. It's been a situation where clearly the issues with Charlotte have come to the front. And by the issues meaning, she's bland. She's boring. She's not very good at wrestling or promos or anything else. And everybody's familiar with Eric Bischoff, the title of Eric Bischoff's book, Controversy Creates Cash. This is a situation where WWE tried to do it again. And let's be clear, this more than likely was WWE's decision. My guess is, and I'm speculating, pure speculation here on my part, because the interview with Jonathan Coachman, with Charlotte and Jonathan Coachman on ESPN SportsCenter was conducted prior to Raw. It was filmed, I believe, on Sunday, and Raw was on Monday, and that's what happened. And my guess is someone thought, hey, if she's comfortable talking about it, let's just throw it in the storyline, because does anybody care? Does anybody care that Charlotte's champion, that she's facing off against someone who used to be her friend? I mean, she's a lot dry. As far as things go, as far as things go, Charlotte's drier than the turkey a lot of us are going to eat on Thursday. There's no real gimmick. And she's bland. She has she has hardly any personality whatsoever. Her promo skills are non-existent, and don't get me started on her wrestling skills. Charlotte wasn't ready. She wasn't ready to be brought up in July. She hasn't been ready for a long time, and she certainly isn't ready to be the face of the Divas division. But she's Ric Flair's daughter. That's it. That has been her gimmick since she walked into NXT. She's Ric Flair's daughter. There's where I think there's where my big problem is in this whole thing, is that Charlotte is resting on her family's notoriety, specifically her father. But now her brother's death was added to this, and yes, that's controversial, and yes, personal issues draw money have for WWE in the past. I mean, we've all witnessed it. Anything from the deaths of wrestlers to personal issues such as drug addiction and infidelity. All of these have been used at some point or another to further a storyline that's kind of stalling. The reaction, I think, is a basis of our more sensitive culture, our more PC culture, of course. But I think it's also glaring that they're having to resort to something like this because to draw attention to this, and they're drawing attention. Yes, not in the right way, but you've heard me quote P.T. Barnum multiple times on this. I don't care what they say about me in the paper as long as they spell my name right. It's where the old cliche "there's no such thing as bad press" comes from. And that's what they're doing. They're like, hey, they're talking about it. They're getting people interested. I'm not sure. I mean, there's a lot of interest. You've got better wrestling all across the board as far as WWE is concerned. But how they're doing storylines just... But I think the problems we're having with Charlotte are indicative of a lot of things. There's a lot bigger issue at hand. We step away from this part for a minute, but they've used so many things in the wrong way. One of the things I think they've used wrong for a while, the Divas title itself. In most every other instance, a championship belt is an achievement. It is this person has worked for a very long time and now is ready to be the face of this company, or in the secondary title, we want to see how you work out as the champion, as the guy or girl in this case. And that's the problem. I think it stems from Nikki Bella. A lot of people... Now, don't get me wrong here. Just hear me out on this. In the case of AJ, the title was an achievement. But it was also the fact that there was really no one else who could be champion. No one else who could be the standard bearer for the Divas division. Then Paige came along, and then there was the feud that lasted about 6 months between, kind of, sort of. And then Nikki Bella's 301-day title reign, and now Charlotte's reign. What the title has been used as, and don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of Paige, but in Paige's case, this is also counts. The title is validation. The title says, hey, this person is the best competitor we have. It's basically the gold star, and it's not as an achievement. It's simple validation. It's them showing or telling the audience this person is the best we have. And in a lot of instances you don't know that. Like, we haven't seen that. For example, with Paige, not a lot of people were watching NXT at the time of her debut. Remember, WrestleMania 30 was the first pay-per-view on the WWE Network, and not a lot of people I don't think a lot of people watched NXT online. So not a lot of people knew about Paige. All of a sudden she bursts on the scene, beats AJ, becomes a champion, and so it's like, hey, this lady's badass. Okay. But now we have that. And so we get back to AJ being a transition between Paige and Nikki, and then Nikki's 301-day title reign. Because let's face facts, without the WWE Divas title, nobody would take Nikki Bella seriously. In fact, a lot of people still didn't. still don't to this day. But that title was validation that she could hang with the best in the division, that she could hang with the likes of Natalya, with Becky Lynch, with Natalya, with Paige, with AJ, with and then when they came up, Becky Lynch, Charlotte, Sasha Banks. Like I said, the validation that she was a great wrestler, even though she wasn't. Yes, she was improving, but she wasn't at the level of, I would say, even at the level that a 9-year wrestling veteran should be. And now, because of all this, everybody thinks that every diva should be champion. Every diva should get a shot at the top. It's not a carousel. Just because you have a ticket doesn't mean you get a turn to ride. But you get to the point now that you're better off without the title. Again, a glaring issue. But let me get right back to Charlotte. Charlotte has problems. Charlotte is not ready. Charlotte is nowhere near ready. Hasn't been ready. She has only been wrestling for 2 years. She can't be the standard. She is not ready to be the standard bearer of the Divas division. But why is she? All it takes is seeing the back of her shirt and the top of her gear most of the time to see why. And that is creatives and Vince McMahon's love affair with multi-generational wrestlers. It's been this way ever since The Rock. The first big-time third-generation wrestler. The Rock's success was what Vince considered a new blueprint. But he's failed. What has been failed to realize: success and talent isn't genetic. Because for every Rock, we now have 1,000 Curtis Axels. I mean, I could bring up a huge list of multi-generational wrestlers that have failed because they are not their predecessors. Charlotte is not Rick. I look at Charlotte, and every time I see Charlotte, I think of Randy Orton. Because of the fact that you have every physical gift that can be bestowed upon a human being through genetics, through breeding. But that does not make you a great wrestler. The best athletes aren't always the great wrestlers. What makes the great wrestlers is sorely lacking in Charlotte. But in order to get Charlotte to where she needs to be, she needs to follow The Rock's blueprint and get the hell out of Daddy's shadow. And the use of Reid's death does not help matters. In fact, just that whether or not it was WWE's idea, whether it was Charlotte's idea, it doesn't matter whose idea it was. It is the fact that it was used at all. Because she can't do it on her own. Paige is a multi-generational wrestler. How many times has her family been... How many times has she herself referenced her family other than in an interview? Because her family was never involved in WWE. I mean, we always, we heard JBL's, oh, she first styles from her mother. But any chance they get, if we know that they are from a wrestling family, it will be exploited and pounded into our brains. They need to get past this. Curtis Axel is not his father. Ted DiBiase Jr. is not his father. The Rock wasn't his father nor his grandfather. But he forged his own path. And that's what these multi-generational stars need to do. You can't be in your famous father's or mother's shadow. You can't. You cannot. It doesn't work. I mean, look at Randy Orton. Randy Orton has every physical gift that can be bestowed upon a human being. However, a lot of times he has fallen flat in feuds and storylines. His success can not only be attributed to his father, but also to Triple H, because Triple H he's been pretty much Triple H's boy. I think if it wasn't for that situation, he'd have been gone a long time ago. I see Charlotte, I see the same situation. What happens after this is anybody's guess. But as long as Charlotte stays in Ric Flair's shadow, all people are going to see is Ric Flair's daughter. Not a great wrestler. I am the Guido. You have been warned.